Thank you for joining us on the Farmhouse Dirty Martini edition today. We are here with our first guest on site at the Pearl Street Steakhouse. Brittany Weber was so gracious to be our first guinea pig, I guess you would say, for the presentation today. And we're here at the bar. So I want to talk to you a little bit about your story here and how things have kind of progressed over the last few months since you started owning Pearl Street, and just talk to us about how this has worked out for you.
Awesome. Well, hello, everyone. I am Brittany Weber, the owner of the Pearl Street Steakhouse. Not really sure how I ended up on the Farmhouse Dirty Martini edition. Actually, yes, I am. We were watching Trisha's show one morning, and Steve and I were both just like loving it. So I commented and said, "Hey, when are you looking for a guest star?" Just kind of as a joke, but here I am because I can't tell anybody no.
Sucker.
But yeah, Steve and I have owned the steakhouse for about a year and a half now. Did a total rebrand this fall, starting November 1st. That was a whole surprise in itself. We had ordered a sign that was going to take 4 to 6 weeks to show up, and they called me the day before and said, "Hey, we're going to drop off your sign." So we rebranded overnight, literally. And it's been great. We've just kind of done our own thing. We've changed the interior, had the exterior painted, changed up the menu, having some more fun with some of the features that we're running. We have a great Lent menu going on right now that we'll offer every day through the end of Lent. So,
and of course, St. Patty's Day is this week, so a great time to get out and enjoy some festive drinks. Brittany is the OG of drink making, and I guess first question I have for you: if you were an alcoholic drink, what would you be?
Oh gosh. Probably margarita.
All right.
I love tequila.
It's my kind of lady.
Yeah. I had a spicy margarita on the menu, and when we first did the menu, it was Brittany's spicy margarita because I am a little spicy.
Well, that's why you fit in so well with our group, because our philosophy is that well-behaved women rarely make history. So here we are. And Brittany, talk about your path to business ownership, and maybe start with your education. You're a Wayne State grad from right here in good old Wayne, America.
Yeah.
And what are some of your best memories of being a Wayne State student?
Oh gosh, it was a long time. I started off in Lincoln and went to UNL for 2 years, and I loved Lincoln, but didn't love going to classes that were bigger than the class I graduated from. I graduated from Norfolk High. So switched to Wayne and was just kind of a lost college student, taking all my classes. I did well in school, but I just had no idea what I wanted to do. So then I went to cosmetology school, and I had a hair salon for about 3 years. Realized that's not what I wanted to do every day. I didn't want to be my own boss. So came back to Wayne State as a non-traditional student. I was probably 27 and had about a year and a half left. So I went into business, and I was going to do marketing and management and move to Omaha and do marketing for whatever I wanted to. But I always just loved Wayne, and always saw myself coming back to Wayne. So graduated from Wayne State in 2015 in December. And Steve and I lived in Sioux City for a couple years, and I drove to Wayne every day from Sioux City, and then convinced him to move back to Wayne. He kind of helped Josie get everything started out at the Beaumont, and then took a different path, decided he wanted to do a little less cooking, a little more business side of things. Ended up hating that. I couldn't sit behind a desk every day. I realized that. So that's when we were probably in Wayne for 5 years and had looked at 3 or 4 different buildings to open a restaurant before we finally just decided to pull the trigger and see what happened. And here we are.
And so here's Brittany. I remember the day that I walked into State Nebraska Bank. She's sitting at her desk by the front door. And I said, "Brittany, Steve's a chef, right? And we've got this great restaurant listed, turnkey. You guys need to buy it." And she just looks at me and she's like, "No." And here we sit, what is it, 2.5 years later, and it has come full circle. Yes. And we're doing it. So,
and yeah, you were probably the at least 10 to 15th person to have that conversation with me and Steve. I mean, the minute that the restaurant went up for sale and everybody knew it was for sale, we had people commenting.
Well, I didn't
once a month.
I didn't want to be
do this.
I didn't want to be a pushy salesperson.
Right. So, and then I remember when I called you and said, "Hey, Trisha, you should probably sit down."
It's happening.
So that's how we ended up with the Pearl Street Steakhouse.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And so glad to have you here. I mean, this is kind of a staple of Wayne, having a steakhouse, and we can't say enough about supporting local businesses because it is so important now more than ever to get out there and be a part of the community. And these are the people that are giving back to the community too in different ways and spending your tax dollars here. So this is a great way to keep you guys busy, and we're glad to see that you're being successful. So flipping back to your time at Wayne State, you started off earlier and told me a little short story about your first day on campus.
So yeah, my first class back to college as a very nervous 27-year-old sort of adult at this point. I was familiar with the campus. You know, I had been on campus and gone to school there for 3 years prior to this. And I was in Gardner Hall. I was parked illegally in the parking lot, you know, just trying to get by with as much as I can. Maybe I look like a teacher today.
You can do anything as a non-trad.
So I get into class and I go up into it was probably the second or third row, sitting on the corner, you know, quick exit. I'm going to be discreet. And I'm sitting there for 20 minutes before I realize that this is not the right class. I am not supposed to be here. I was like 2 doors down. So I just got up, kind of waved at everybody and did the awkward exit, and then had to walk into my other class 25 minutes late. So it was a great start to college. And I was just, I was so nervous, but it was great. And I love Wayne State. I can't say enough about it. No one made me feel awkward. I just made myself feel awkward.
Who was your professor? Do you remember?
I don't remember who it was. But I had a ton of classes with Dr. Hallgren. He was my favorite.
Yes.
He was my marketing professor. He made me feel comfortable in class, helped me connect with other students that were younger, so much younger. Not really at that point looking at it, but when I was there, I felt like I was just this old lady in class. So, but no, I loved all my business classes. I loved Wayne State. I can't say enough about it.
Absolutely.
If I would have started here when I was a freshman, I probably would have graduated in 4 or 5 years and not 10. But
well, and Hallgren kind of fed off of the life experiences of other people. So by the time you're 27, you've done a few things. You've seen a few things, and you can bring a different element to the class that most people can't. So
I was in an entrepreneurship class, and I was the only one in there that had actually run a small business myself for a couple of years at that point. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And your sense of style. So I just found out a couple minutes ago that you had a beauty shop at one time. So talk about your sense of style, because you got it going on, Brittany.
Oh, thank you. I guess I don't really know when this all kind of started. I've always loved fashion, loved being put together. Thought that going to cosmetology school was going to be the right thing for me, because I always loved doing my hair. I have been bleaching my hair since I was 12. I can't believe it's still all there. I mean, it's getting thinner, but always loved makeup, done all of that stuff. But it was definitely just more of a hobby. I liked doing it for myself. And I loved doing hair colors. Haircuts just depended on what they were looking for. But yeah, I've always just kind of really had a little fun with that type of stuff. I have way too much makeup. I've got a Lisa Frank palette that's got 50 different bright colors, hence the green eyeshadow today.
I don't even think people know who Lisa Frank is anymore.
Oh gosh. So yes. But yeah, and then I joke with Steve all the time. I'm trying to find my old lady aesthetic right now. There was a week, 2 weeks where I just wore black and hot pink to see how long it would take people to notice. And I was sending out Snapchats to my friends day 5 hasn't said anything yet.
She's wearing her glasses on a chain around her neck.
And the most recent one is finding just wild t-shirts with just crazy sayings. I had a couple really good ones at Christmas, marry her with a martini.
Yes.
And yeah, I had a Halloween one that was here for the booze with a ghost holding martini glasses. So I found some pretty good Life is Good shirts that I might order and just run with that for the summer.
Absolutely.
We'll see.
Well, and I think your sense of style kind of extends to the bar and the steakhouse here, because you've completely transformed the space. We've got a glitter wall, for crying out loud. You've really made it into a nice space for people to come and enjoy supper and time with family and friends. So kudos to you for carrying that through your whole life. As far as everything goes. So, and good for you for making a statement. This is what we're all about. So
gotta have a little fun.
That's right. Exactly. So we have to get down to the nitty gritty. I mean, I know from personal experience 5 years ago, opening a business in a small town, you get a lot of pushback, you get a lot of feedback, whether it's constructive or not, you just deal with it. And it's hard to, if you've been here or are taking over an existing business, to reinvent that yourself. Yeah. But I think you need to do that to have that expression of yourself and what you envision this to be. And so proud of you for making that change and the rebranding. I mean, it's hard, isn't it?
It is. Steve and I have actually talked about it. We started having fun when we stopped trying to make everybody happy, because we knew 2 months in that we were not going to make everybody happy. So the more fun we had on our end was, repainting, redecorating, getting the carpet changed out, changing things on the menu, doing what we wanted to do and not what everybody else thought we should do.
Absolutely. So. Yes. And showing your true style and your expression again, just through that, it has been huge. So love seeing that change take place. As a business owner, we all have our least favorite parts of owning a business. And what does that look like for you? I mean,
staffing, everybody struggles with it. We've been fortunate enough to have kind of a constant flow of applicants. But like right now it's really tough for me because I love all my servers. I have like a great team right now, but most of them graduate in May. So we get to start over.
Sure.
And then going through that process, I bet I've done 15 interviews in the last 2 months. On the job posting says, weekend and summer availability. And half of the interviews that I get in here, but I'm going to go home in May and I'll be back in August. I'm like, well, that's not really summer availability. That's where I need the help.
Right.
So,
right.
Just kind of, and I know everybody struggles with staffing. I've talked to my other business owner friends that have, that rely on staff, and it's just
absolutely
kind of a constant thing that, I mean, right now, just a little extra sucky because they're all so awesome.
Yes. Well, and it's just a constant in a small town. Our Main Street struggles because especially this week it's spring break at Wayne State, and we rely on that workforce to come in and work for us. But like you said, it's hard to keep the kids here. They're entitled to a break too. And they're doing a lot, they're going to school full time. They're trying to work a part-time job, if not full-time job. And it's a lot. So you got to kind of pick and choose what's going to work best and balance all of that.
Yeah. We just decided to close on spring break. If there's ever a year that we have a couple staff that stick around, awesome, we'll be open. But we did 55 Christmas parties and had parties on days we weren't regularly open. So for me to have to tell 2 of my staff, like, hey, sorry, you can't go on spring break, but your other 3 friends get to, we just decided that wasn't going to be what we did, and we were ready for a little break ourselves.
Yes. So. And what are we doing here? We should be on the beach doing this interview.
I tried to get Trisha to do shots this morning.
Well, yeah, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, right? I was hoping that these heavy glasses would be full, but they are just staged to look like they are.
They can be.
So you are kind of the new ultimate bartender of the place here, and you run the show. So talk to us about your experience bartending, what led you to this, and your hostessing abilities, and talk to us as to what this all entails.
So definitely got the gift of gab from my father.
Thanks, Dad.
Yes, he is from Coleridge, small town guy, knows everybody, related to everybody, can tell you whose place is where and when the last time they had a calf out or whatever. So definitely got that end of the business from him, which is great. I've always felt like I could talk to most people. I hate public speaking though. I get so nervous, but if it's just us, that's great. Just talk your ear off. But I got hired to work at a golf course just between Lincoln and Omaha. It's called Quarry Oaks. I actually interviewed when I was 18 in spring, and they offered me the job, obviously a summer job, said come back. I started the day after I turned 19. They taught me how to make an old fashioned, a martini, some of the higher end drinks because it was a pretty fancy golf course. And I'd never done any of it before. They told me I was a natural. I take that as being from Northeast Nebraska, where we all know what we did every weekend. And then during the off season in golf, I worked at a couple bars in Lincoln, helped out during Husker games and stuff like that. Came back to Wayne, and I worked at a couple of the small town bars around here. I was in Wisner at that bar for almost 4 years. I loved it. That one was great. They almost convinced me to buy that bar at one point when I was 23 and decided that probably wasn't a good idea for me.
Didn't have that business degree finished up yet.
My boss there was awesome, but he had gotten a job in York, so was moving and was going to sell the bar. And everybody was like, you should buy it. And I was like, no, I shouldn't. but always have kind of just done stuff, bartending on the side since I've been 19. So
Sure.
it was always one of my favorite jobs. I always told everybody that. I just love talking to people, and it's fun now. Like, I'll see some regulars from bars that I worked at 10 years ago, and I'm like, I can't remember which one, but I think you still drink Jack and Coke. So, and most of the time I'm right.
That's customer service, folks.
I've just kind of always loved it. I really like now where I get to kind of have fun with the drinks, and I have like a pistachio martini on the menu for spring because I love pistachio. So why not?
Yes.
And that's definitely more fun. I love the trendy. I guess that's maybe a good thing from TikTok. I don't have TikTok, but all my friends send them to me and tell me what drinks I should make. And I have fun like looking up recipes online and just kind of, if I have a liquor that's not going over well, like finding something to make it more popular.
Sure. Yeah, because it's not cheap to keep an inventory here.
No.
Whether it's food, booze, meat, whatever it could come out to be, you have to be very specific about what you're using every week. You have to get rid of it. You have to keep that cooler recirculating.
Yes.
So it's not an easy job.
No.
And I think a lot of people say, well, they're only open 3 days or 4 days a week, but there's so much behind the scenes that people don't realize that's not on TV. That I mean, what is your typical day like on a Monday or Tuesday? I mean, you obviously got to do stuff like this.
So Sundays are usually the only day that I try not to come down here. Might come down just to make sure nothing started on fire. But then Mondays I come in and re-vacuum the floors, get everything mopped. We do all that stuff when we close, but after you've served anywhere from 60 to 80 people in a 3-hour time span, like I'll give my staff a little credit if they miss a crumb here or there.
Yes.
So Mondays I usually come in and clean, get everything done, do the bathrooms. If I decide I want to paint something, I might come in and do that. Work on all of my Facebook posts for the week, getting all the specials and the features planned out. I work on my chalkboards. I try and get like the design part of that done on Monday. So then I just have to fill in what's going on there. Restocking beer. I have one beer order due on Monday, one beer order due on Tuesday. Our linen deliveries are on Tuesday. Steve gets a truck on 1 or 2 trucks on Monday. So we're pretty much here all day on Monday. Tuesdays is just kind of getting ready for service on Wednesday. I have city council meetings every other Tuesday. So usually try and be done here around 4:00 so I can go get ready for those. And then Wednesday we start and just getting everything ready. Usually here, by 10 a.m. on Wednesday, getting ready for the week. And then just depending on business the rest of the week, if it was a slow Wednesday, I might not have to come in until noon on Thursday. But then, we just kind of run like fire from Wednesday to Saturday.
And I know what meal prep's like at my house for just 4 people. So when you're planning for 40 or 60 or 80, it's just an entirely different beast. And so it's so much work behind the scenes. You're probably cutting vegetables, prepping food, cooking all the time, and just having those staples put together so you're ready to go when the time comes that the crowd shows up. So
because there's 30 different things on the menu that have to be ready to go at any given time. So
absolutely. And are you always like kind of at a fever pitch trying to figure out what's going over the best? And are some days different than others?
It's so different. Every day is completely different. I went 2 weeks without selling a Bud Light. I don't know. And then the next night I sold like 15.
Yes.
So just trying to sometimes I gamble on what I'm going to extra stock or not stock depending on, and then it's usually the opposite of that. Obviously during Lent, we know we'll go through more seafood. So Steve preps a little more than that, but there's a random Thursday night. That was probably 3 weeks ago. We had 50 some people in here on a Thursday night for no reason. And we were out of salmon by 6:00 because the first 3 tables, that's all they ordered. You can never guess what is going to happen.
Right.
So we just try and be as prepared as we possibly can be for what's going to happen.
And you're learning every day.
Every day is
no 2 days are the same. So, I mean, you guys have done a ton of renovations to the facility, and you were able to utilize some LB 840 funds, and you actually got a Grow Nebraska grant too, right? So I kind of want to hear about that, because this is something that is encouraging small business in rural Nebraska.
So LB 840, I was familiar with from being on city council. It's a great program. It's probably the only way that most business owners are making things work right now.
Right.
I know interest rates don't like historically seem high, but after COVID, they're twice as high as they were. There's a big difference between 3 and 8%. So LB 840 is great. You meet with like a committee, they review your business plan, make sure that they think that it's a feasible business for the community. And as long as you can say, like, this is why it's important. I don't think that there's been too many businesses that have been turned down. So they kind of review your plan. It's through the chamber and the city. So Luke will work with you, help you get your application done, get your business plan, all that stuff set up. As far as like completing a business plan, if you don't have one done, he can find resources for you down there to help you do the business plan yourself. That one I'll give a shout out to Dr. Hallgren on.
There you go.
I knew how to do a business plan.
Absolutely.
But then you have the opportunity to present your case before city council and ask for a lower interest rate than what the LB 840 committee even approves, which is typically half of the rate that you're getting from a traditional lender, so through the bank.
Right.
So we were able to get a loan through the city for a 1.8% interest rate, I think. Don't quote me. I have to look in my books.
I'm going to go back through all those city council minutes and figure this out.
It's less than 2%, but more than 1.5%.
Yes.
So that was huge for us to be able to do the renovations and get a bunch of new kitchen equipment. It's just, everything is expensive.
Right.
So having that was a huge benefit for us. I also took advantage of the revolving loan through the chamber office as well, which is up to $20,000 at 0% interest. And then the Grow Nebraska grant was great. Luke had sent an email about the opportunity to every chamber member. And I was reading through the email and I was like, I know I have a good business plan put together. I just did it for LB 840. Right. I spent a lot of time on our business plan, just in general when we were putting it together. And so I was like, I'm going to give it a shot. And it was up to $25,000. And I was able to get like $24,690. It replaced our walk-in cooler unit, which that alone was almost $14,000.
Yes.
Able to repaint the exterior of the building, which wasn't an initial plan, but it was something that we wanted to do to just kind of update with the inside.
Yep.
And we hired Z&S Painting out of Wakefield to do that. They did an awesome job. And then we were also able to replace 3 coolers in the kitchen that were on the verge of dying. So we were just fortunate enough that we could replace them before they did just completely go out. And that process, I mean, it's not easy because they're going to, potentially give you up to $25,000 of free money. But they go through your business plan and then they set you up with like a case manager who goes through the whole process with you.
Sure.
You have to get invoices or estimates on everything that you want to do. And then once it goes through their committee and they start to approve, then they start releasing funds. I know that they're doing another round of it. The applications are due by the end of March again, I believe this year. Luke's a great resource for that. Otherwise, I will talk to anybody about my experience with it. I know we had a couple other businesses in town that are either working on it or received the grant, like the Rose Cottage.
Yes.
She also got the Grow Nebraska grant.
Right.
They really encourage veteran women and minority-owned businesses to apply. So I guess lucky for me and Steve, I'm the boss of the business and I have to do all the work. So,
well, he does the cooking,
right? And I'm on the business side of things.
Right.
So no, but that experience was great. We actually made a trip to Kearney to go to the Grow Nebraska store so I could meet my like caseworker in person and like tell her thank you. Yeah, that was a huge blessing, especially in the summer of last year, which was so slow for us. And it sounds like so slow for most businesses around town, to be able to get that and like take advantage of being slow.
Right.
Like we were able to close for a week and get our walk-in cooler fixed because it wasn't Christmas. And oh my God, we can't close for a week during Christmas season.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and sometimes the most daunting part of applying for those grants is going to be that your whole life is essentially on display. And looking at somebody who has to acquire a liquor license, I mean, every traffic infraction that you have gotten in your entire life.
Mortifying when we had to submit our liquor license application to city council and it gets published in the meeting minutes and everybody can see that I got 2 MIPs when I was 18 and an idiot. So, but yeah, it is.
You
just hope that everybody kind of skims through it, like that they don't read the minutes every week.
But you do. I mean, you feel like your life is on display, and I think that's maybe a discouraging factor for several people as to why they might not fill those disclosures out and do it, because it's a lot. It's hard to get all of that out on paper and share that with the world. So
it is, but I mean, it's Northeast Nebraska.
They don't know by now.
Or we know somebody that has, like,
Right.
yes, it's embarrassing and you make bad choices when you're young, but that's also part of what like shapes you into the person that you are. So
Absolutely.
I mean, do I want everybody in town to know that I had 2 alcohol infractions almost, 20 years ago? No, but it happened. So
That's right. That's right. So putting the past behind us and looking forward, I mean, you guys have done some great things at Farmers Market. You've talked about catering services and expanding that. Where do you see this year taking you, and this summer especially with the business?
yeah. So like I said, last summer was pretty slow for us. So we're really going to try and focus on catering. We went to the bridal show in Norfolk a couple weeks ago and got to talk to at least 150, if not 200 people through there. Probably a little late for some weddings this summer, but we had some interest in some fall weddings. Sure. We're going to host a rehearsal dinner in here on a Friday night this summer. We plan on going back to the farmers market on Saturday mornings, possibly Wednesday nights, just depending on, what we could find to take out there. So if you have ideas, send me of what you'd love to see at the farmers market on Wednesday night. But the breakfast burritos on Saturday were just an insane hit. We were going through between 30 and 50 burritos from 9 to 10 o'clock on Saturday mornings.
That's awesome.
It was great.
It's like McDonald's drive-through practically.
What Steve said. He's like, these are McDonald's type of numbers. So we'll do that during the summer when business picks up in here. I think we were done right around the first part of September last year. So we didn't make it to the last couple of farmers markets because by the time Friday night you get done at 11:30, 12 o'clock and you're up at 6 to make burritos for the farmers market. Saturday night's got to be a little long.
Sure.
But
yes.
Yeah, like the plan is to do that during the summer and just work on really trying to promote our catering business and see if we can find some other things to supplement during those slower months.
That's right.
Yeah.
And one thing we didn't talk about much is your husband, Steve, who is a professionally trained chef.
Yes.
So he's the guy that's cooking the food, making the meal plans. Where does his training come from, and what does that look like?
So he went to culinary school in Chicago. He always says like he was laying carpet before that and that just wasn't for him. Right. So he had always had like a little interest in cooking and learning more about that. So went to culinary school. After that, he came back to Wayne and he was the executive chef at Wayne State for, I think, 5 years. Yep. And then he also went back to school as a non-traditional student, wanted to get his bachelor's degree. So went to SDSU in Brookings, got his hospitality management degree. And then came back and was the executive chef at Morningside in Sioux City. And through Wayne State and through Morningside has just done a ton of catered events, large scale. They do up to 500 people. Yeah. They were having, fancy dinners at, like the president's house for the foundation and the donors and that type of stuff. So like upscale meals, mass meals, all kinds of good stuff. It blows me away when I watch him in the kitchen when he does the catering and like prepares meals for 100 people. I'm just like, I can't cook for us, let alone 100 people. So that was, it's always really cool, especially like Christmas parties and stuff where we had a couple pretty nice ones in here this year and just watching him make like 4 like tenderloins at a time and just pounds of potatoes and just like whatever. And he just does it and doesn't seem to like phase him at all.
Right.
So, he's got a ton of background in catering. Obviously helped Josie get everything set up at the Beaumont. So did quite a few weddings out there with her. So has a background in lots of catering stuff. And
yes, absolutely. Yeah. Well, you guys make a very well matched set between you being the business side and the front face of the business. Steve's in the kitchen doing all the things that are required of a steakhouse. It's been a great addition to Wayne.
Thank you.
So thank you for allowing us to interview you today. Yeah. What do we need to do to come down here and eat? What are your open hours? What are your...
Yeah, so we're open Wednesday through Saturday from 5 to 9.
But not this week.
Not this week. We are closed for spring
break.
We will be back on March 19th. Wednesdays and Thursdays are usually pretty open. We do recommend reservations on Friday and Saturday. It's been... there was a couple Saturdays over the Christmas season where we had to turn a couple people away. But if you can be patient and you want to go have a drink at the White Dog and come back in 20 minutes, we can get a table. Reservations are we need them for big groups. So groups of 6 or more, just because we have limited table spaces and moving tables. And if it's busy in here, we aren't going to be able to get tables moved around. So we do want the big groups to call ahead of time. But we've just gotten better with table management. And knowing how long, it's a lot easier to predict how long some people are going to stay in here.
Right.
Some groups might be in here for the full time that we're open. It happens.
Yep.
But we've got it timed pretty well where we know how long it'll take to turn a table over. So we can manage walk-ins a little easier. When we first opened, it was just like stupid though. The phone would ring 60 sometimes a day and we were having 200 people try and walk in and we only have 80 seats in the restaurant. So just trying to manage that was its own beast of being a new business. Everybody knows how that goes.
Yep.
But yeah, we love reservations on Friday and Saturday. Just gives us a better idea of what to expect and what to prepare for.
Right.
But if it's, 7:00 and you're like, yeah, let's go out to eat, stop down. We'll probably have a table for you.
Right. Or even call ahead, that evening if you want to make sure.
Yeah. We don't answer the phone a lot when it's busy.
Sure.
But if you call early and say, hey, we're planning on coming in, that's fine. We try our best to accommodate what we can for everybody, but just need people to understand that some Fridays and Saturday nights when everyone decides to go out to eat, we can only get so many people in at one time.
That's right.
But,
and again, those growing pains that come with a new business, staffing issues, it all plays together.
Yeah.
So every day is different.
Yes.
And that's why we love what we do.
Yep.
Whether it's real estate, whether it's serving people, whether it's making food, that's why we're here in Wayne, Nebraska.
Yeah.
So this has been great.
Yes,
and
thank you so much.
Brittany, thank you for joining us for our first on-site interview here of the Farmhouse Dirty Martini version. And thank you again for joining us. So we hope you have a great St. Patty's Day, and we'll look forward to our next week's show. If any of you have ideas for new topics or things that we can be doing, please give us a shout and we will gladly try to make arrangements. Welcome home.